once again start talking about mainstream, about small businesses, about individuals, that's when we're going to win the fight. But if we keep representing big business, if everything that comes out of the House seems like we're just worried about what job creators, I always tell the joke, you know, we always use the term job creators in the Republican conference, and I think the only people who use the term job creators are Republican congressmen. There's nobody in America who talks about, they wake up in the morning and they say, you know, I'm really worried about those job creators. There's nobody in America who talks that way except for Republican congressmen. We need to start talking about families and individuals once again and make sure that our families make it easier and smoother for families and individuals, that our policies make it easier and smoother for families and individuals to be successful in America. I wrote a newsletter out of my office about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I talked about the theme of big business and big government. Big business loves big government, and the reason they love big government is because they're the only ones who can afford all the regulations and all the requirements that come out of Washington, D.C. Small businesses cannot afford that. Individual businesses cannot afford that, but big businesses can, and they can actually thrive in an environment where there's more regulations and more taxes. In fact, look at what happened a couple of weeks ago. The Business Roundtable came to Washington and said, raise taxes on individuals as long as you lower taxes on corporations. As long as we continue to do that and protect big businesses, we're going to have a hard time as Republicans being the party that actually gets a majority in presidential races.
Following on that question, though, the Republican Study Committee's budget, which is balanced in 10 years, has failed in recent sessions to get a majority of Republicans. So that a 10-year balanced budget that doesn't raise taxes has to cut more than Paul Ryan's budget, and previous plans like that have failed to get a majority of Republicans. What's changed?
Isn't that what's beautiful about this? I mean, think about that. For leadership to look at you and say, we're going to 10-year budget, which in many ways is the RSC budget from last year, plus, you got to understand, there's been another year of erosion in the numbers because of what this administration has done, and say, and this is going to be our position as the conference, that's actually one of the beautiful things here.
Can they actually get it passed?
I think they can. When you put that up and say, this is the budget for the team, and many of us on the conservative side are often fussed at for, why don't you play nicer with the team? We'll always play great with the team when we're doing what's conservative. What happens when that number up there is the conservative budget?
I would caution again, though, that the revenue baselines have changed. So that changes the window for balance. And in fact, under the last House budget, I believe it almost achieved balance in a fairly short period of time, but then it went back up. So that's why you get to the almost 30-year balance. So if the revenues change a little bit, you might actually hit balance. The question is whether it stays at balance.
Are you also looking at static scoring from the Congressional Budget Office? Is that the metric you'd be? Okay.
Yeah, and let me not shake a head on it. That has to be part of that. In order to be a serious budget, it would have to include the CBO scores, not an outside model, as a way to plus those up. So it is very difficult, especially when the RSC budget last year had 100, maybe 120 votes. I guess less than half. I'm not sure what the number was. It will take some significant changes.
You can see the rest of this in our overnight programming on C-SPAN 2 and anytime at cspan.org. We're going live to the Indiana State